it is in constitutional order. This is a cliche we have been hearing from the ECOWAS summit, from the first extraordinary summit to the second extraordinary summit of ECOWAS. The phrase constitutional order has been dominating from all the discussion. In fact, the military coup in Niger has made many to come to terms with the word constitutional order and to ask salient questions as to what is the definition of constitutional order. If we really look at what has been plaguing the economic of West Africa, that is ECOWAS, if we look at what has been plaguing and look at the concept of democracy, democracy in itself has also come on often, as most of the leaders of ECOWAS who met in the extraordinary summit, supported by their Western allies, have been championing the word democracy, democracy, democracy. Let us pause for a moment and reflect on the meaning of democracy and also constitutional order. Let me take you to Uganda. What happened of recent in Uganda just a few weeks ago? The World Bank and some of the affiliates decided to impose sanctions on Yoweri Museveni's government. Do you know why the sanction was imposed on Yoweri Museveni's government? Because of the anti-gay law that they termed drastic and draconian. And reason why? They decided to impose sanctions on President Yoweri Museveni's government and reduce the aid. The aid, they said, was meant to improve on the economy. But do you know why this was done? Was because of the fact that Yoweri voted or signed the anti-gay law. Now, this is the question. Yoweri's parliament was democratically elected. The people elected their representative, that is their members of parliament. That is democracy as truncated by the West. And now in the Senate chamber or in the parliamentary chamber, members of the parliament legally elected decided to heal to the core of the people unanimously. Over 98% voted in favor of an anti-gay law. That is democracy. Voted, but yet the West said they are against it and so imposed sanction. What is democracy? Democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. The people went and casted their ballot for their members of parliament to speak on their behalf. The members of parliament went to parliament, democratically voted for the anti-gay law, following the process. But we are not seeing the outburst of African leaders to say stop imposing sanctions on Uganda because of their practice in democracy. Let's come now to ECOWAS. ECOWAS have activated the military option, a standby army aimed at intervening in Niger to restore what they consider as constitutional order and to bring back the person they consider as the democratically elected president, President Bazoum, who has been ousted for 2 weeks now. And now let's look at the champions, those who are championing this activation of a standby army, and ask if they understand the meaning of constitutional order, or they are just helping a friend in need because they themselves are in need. Many often stakeholders and political analysts have defined African Union and ECOWAS as what is termed a friendly club, where people go there to defend the interests of their colleagues rather than the interests of the state in which they represent. Let us first take the case of Nigeria. Nigeria president said they are acting on the interest of Nigerians or those in Niger. But let's ask the question. Over 30,000 persons were in this, one of the stadiums of Niger, 30,000, to show their support for the military leader. We had sea of people on the street of Niger on the day of the coup voicing their support for the military coup. In fact, we saw how the French embassy was surrounded. We also saw just yesterday, Saturday, how thousands of people rallied to show their support for the military junta and also asking the French soldiers to leave Niger. These are the people whom the Nigerian presidents made mention that ECOWAS want to go and help and restore constitutional order. That puts us in the definition, what is constitutional order? 2, the military coup in Niger. No life was lost. Nobody has been killed so far. No one has been injured as far as the coup d'etat is concerned. No military official, no bodyguard was killed, as the case in other military coup d'etat. Nobody was killed. Let's look at Nigeria. The February election in Nigeria, over 19 people were killed, and we had a lot of persons injured. 19 were killed and dozens of persons injured. And also, there is a controversial issue as far as Tinubu's election is concerned. By Nigerian constitution, when you are not satisfied with the election, he has to go to post-electoral petition, which is determined by the tribunal, then move to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court gives its final verdict. And so, if we look at what is happening in Nigeria, all odds are against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as far as the law is concerned in terms of the post-electoral petition. However, ECOWAS did not intervene to see why 19 people were killed in an election in Nigeria, to see why many are saying that the election was flooded with fraud. Even the European Union report was clear that there was also issues of election malpractices and suppression of voters, and also intimidation and violence. And ECOWAS did not call for an extraordinary Congress. In fact, ECOWAS gave it a pass as far as that is concerned. Number 3, let us look at the members, another member championing this war. Côte d'Ivoire, Alassane Dramane Ouattara. Ouattara is championing this cause. In fact, he has voiced that Ivory Coast will give 18,000 military to be on standby to see how they can restore constitutional order in Niger. How did he come to power? Number 1, it was a disputed election between him and Laurent Gbagbo in 2010. And in fact, Gbagbo refused to concede defeat. And so there was a civil war. Ouattara was backed by the French, whom the French used the UN resolution that they were coming to prevent civilians from being killed, and restricted Gbagbo's military from using heavy weapons. And so therefore, the French backed the rebels, and the French used their helicopters to bombard major warehouses, military installations of Gbagbo forces, to prevent them from stopping the advancement of the rebels. The rebels went into Côte d'Ivoire and also into Abidjan, took out Gbagbo, sent Gbagbo to prison, to the ICC, and Gbagbo was there for a while. And Gbagbo eventually was cleared of all the charges. And now Ouattara, under the constitution, is supposed to be for 2 terms. Ouattara changed the constitution to seek the 3rd mandate. There was chaos in Ivory Coast. People stormed the street. Some people were killed. ECOWAS did not intervene to restore constitutional order in Ivory Coast. In fact, ECOWAS was muted as far as that is concerned. That is to ask the question, and it makes us to still ask the question, what is constitutional order that they are referring to? Do they have a different definition of constitutional order? So when you look at this, that is why Alassane Ouattara is one of those championing the intervention of military intervention in Niger, that they should go and restore constitutional order after he himself activated or championed the cause to change the constitution to seek for a 3rd mandate. Now he is in his 3rd mandate, and ECOWAS did not react. Let us also look at the other issues, which is now the case of those championing this military intervention. And let us come now to look at what is actually happening in Senegal. President Macky Sall attempted to change the constitution to suit in for a 3rd mandate. In fact, there was riot earlier this year in Senegal, in which many stormed the street demanding that the constitution should not be touched. And it will shock you that Macky Sall is one of those advocating actively for military intervention in Niger to restore constitutional order, even though he himself has attempted or is still under pressure of changing the limit mandate to the 3rd, to seek a 3rd controversial term. And ECOWAS has not reacted as far as that is concerned. Will that bother you? Of course, it tells you that ECOWAS, as many have described it, It's a friendly organization meant to protect one of their own as compared to the general interest of the people. Let us even look at the fourth point in which ECOWAS is laying their foundation. That is to come and save the people of Senegal, the people of Niger. The people of Niger have been without electricity. If you actually wanted to save the people of Niger, will you actually cut electricity, impose heavy sanctions on the same people you are coming to save, and you are activating military option in a coup that nobody died, and you are going with military option with more than 30,000 supporting this coup? Will these persons not defend their homeland as they have said? And what will be the repercussion in a country where nobody died for a coup and you are coming to restore a constitutional order which will result to the death and destructions of properties of people? Let us not forget the case in Libya. What happened in Libya? Libya was also an attempt to restore constitutional order. In fact, let us applaud the constitutional order currently in Libya. Libya is a shadow of itself, Harvard of terrorism, in the words of President Trump, Harvard of terrorism. Libya, in constitutional disorder of Gaddafi, had peace, was also a land of justice, also a land of development. In fact, a land where utility bills were not being paid and people were being paid for unemployment benefit. And now we are having constitutional order championed by President Barack Obama and the French in what they said the UN resolution gave them the mandate. That is constitutional order. The constitutional order in Libya is what they want to install in Niger, and this will affect the whole region. Algeria is against this. But to also give you the sixth point, Ghana is reluctant in this. Why? Because Ghana respects constitutional order. We are not saying coup d'etat is something that we should applaud. Of course, we should condemn coup d'etat in all aspects, in all forms, whether it's a military or it's a civilian coup. It should be condemned in all forms. But we cannot also pay a blind eye to what is actually happening in terms of what motivates this coup d'etat. There is a push and pull factor. When you fail in your responsibility in upholding the standard of the constitution, the spirit behind the constitution, you will give no other option than the coup d'etat. And when you look at why Ghana is reluctant, it's because they have constitutional order in Ghana. If you also want to look at why Ghana is reluctant, because they saw what happened when there was coup d'etat in Ghana, and J. Rawlings took and revamped and set in constitutional order. And ECOWAS is relying on what they think it is the issue of ECOMOG as far as Charles Taylor is concerned. The issue of Charles Taylor is different. The issue of the Gambia also is different. Now we have Mali, Burkina Faso championing, and we have also the warmonger group also aiming at protecting the Nigerian coup. On all this, who is ECOWAS serving? Is ECOWAS serving the interest of the people? What is constitutional order? It is often said that he who goes to equity must go with clean hands. You cannot go to equity with hands dirty, because the truth is God, and you can only kill the teller and not the truth. If you go on with constitutional order in what is aimed at military intervention, there will be casualties. And is ECOWAS ready for this? CEMAC in itself will feel the brunt. Hope CEMAC, head of state, will have their own extraordinary congress to see how they can prevent the inflow and the effect of this constitutional order that will be restored, which will take the face of Libya as we see. This is House of Commons with me, Tah Mai Jarvis. You are welcome, and you have a right to participate on today's edition of our program. You can call us on the numbers that will be put on your screen. We are looking at the coup in Niger, the activation of the ECOWAS standby army. Is it going to be a mayhem, or is it going to be a possible way forward? And we are also expecting Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel, who has just indicated that he may not make it for the program. Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel was supposed to be here for the program. Probably it's because of the rain. We're also expecting to have no other person than Gentle, who also is not here and also has not it's not here, has not indicated. Probably the rain was supposed to come from Boya. We were also expecting to have Mr. Suleiman from Kumba, who just messaged me a while ago that he's not sure he's going to make it because he's far, he's still far. He left Kumba a bit late and had some issues with traffic along before getting to Boya. And looking at his time now, he's not sure he will catch up with the program. So we want to apologize for not having these persons. But here in the studio we have Nick Anu, who is joining us here. We really apologize because these are men who are supposed to come and discuss on this, and we cannot just say the program should be annulled based on the circumstances by which we find ourselves. Nick Anu, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday to you, Mr. Tah Mai Jarvis. Happy Sunday to fellow listeners of House of Commons and Media present over the globe. Happy Sunday to those who could not make it, our fellow panelists who could not make it. Today we're talking about Niger again. We've been talking for the past 2 weeks now, and we're talking and trying to see how the political power that are in charge can come to reason and try to do things in the interest of the people and not in their personal interests. And within this program, we are going to look at some of the senior issues concerning the coup in Niger. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We want to say, all those of you watching us online, Fadi Belly, happy Sunday to you. Chibi R. But sanction is democracy really on the ballot. Let's talk about some messages before I come to you to get to you. This other message reads, it says, hello, good morning to you. Good morning. African Union, ECOWAS should fight for constitutional order. Thank you very much. That message is not signed. This one saying happy Sunday to you. A nice topic. I think that we are going to learn. But before we come to the studio, let us go to the declaration of the ECOWAS summit.
Omar Ali Uture, President of the Commission. His Excellency Leonardo Santos Simao, Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General for West Africa and the Sahel and Head of UNOWAS. His Excellency Ambassador Bankole Adewe, Commissioner for Peace and Security, representing the Chairperson of the African Union Commission. The authority, having considered the memorandum presented by the President of the ECOWAS Commission on the current situation in the Republic of Niger, as well as ECOWAS engagement since the last extraordinary summit, and having considered the reports of the envoys of the chair to Niger and various other places, carefully considered the report and recommendations of the ECOWAS Committee of Chiefs of Defense Staff, extensively discussed the latest development in Niger since the last extraordinary summit held on 30 July 2023, noted that all diplomatic efforts made by ECOWAS in resolving the crisis have been defiantly repelled by the military leadership of the Republic of Niger, taking note of the expiration of the one-week ultimatum given for the restoration of constitutional order in the Republic of Niger, decide as follows. A, reiterates its strong condemnation of the attempted coup d'etat and the continued illegal detention of President Mohamed Bazoum, his family, and members of his government. B, further condemns the condition in which President Bazoum is being detained and hold the CNSP fully and solely responsible for the safety, security, and physical integrity of President Bazoum, members of his family, and government. C, uphold all measures and principles agreed upon by the extraordinary summit held on Niger on 30th July 2023. Underscore the determination of the ECOWAS authority to keep all options on the table for the peaceful resolution of the crisis. Enforce all measures, in particular border closures and strict travel bans and assets freeze, on all persons or groups of individuals whose actions hinder all peaceful efforts aimed at ensuring the smooth and complete restoration of constitutional order. Warn member states who, by their action directly or indirectly, hindered the peaceful resolution of the crisis in Niger, about the consequences for their action before the community. Call on the African Union to endorse all the decisions taken by the ECOWAS authority on the situation in Niger. Further call on all partner countries and institutions, including the United Nations, to support ECOWAS in its effort to ensure a quick restoration of constitutional order in conformity with its normative instruments. Direct the President of the Commission to monitor the implementation of the sanctions. Direct the Committee of the Chief of Defense Staff to activate the ECOWAS standby force with all its elements immediately. Order the deployment of the ECOWAS standby force to restore constitutional order in the Republic of Niger. Underscore its continued commitment to the restoration of constitutional order through peaceful means. Express appreciation to His Excellency General Abdulsalami Abubakar, His Eminence Muhammadu Saad Abubakar, the Sultan of Sokoto, Ambassador Baba Kingibe, for the special envoy missions undertaken in Niger, Libya, and Algeria on behalf of the Chair of Authority. Express gratitude to His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Chair of the ECOWAS Authority, for convening the extraordinary summit and for the manner in which he has been conducting the affair of the community as Chair of Authority.
If you are just joining us, you're watching House of Commons, and you can participate by calling us on the number on your screen to give your own input as far as the situation in Niger is concerned, and if you are in support of what has been ongoing or announced by the ECOWAS chairperson and also the Extraordinary Congress. It is clear that military option is on the table because the rebels, or the military juntas, they are adamant and they are firm in their position. First, they have refused to the 7 days ultimatum that was given by ECOWAS. They did not respect it. Second, they refused to receive Victoria Nuna, which is a deputy U.S. Secretary of State that was sent to go and talk with them. Rather, he talked with junior officers and did not meet with the person in charge, the coup leader, and neither did she meet with also the deposed president, President Bazoum. And also to show that the leaders of the juntas are defiant. They had a total shutdown in their main stadium, Niamey, where thousands of people also came out to show their support. Just yesterday, we had thousands of people storm the French military base, asking for the French soldiers to leave. And in Nigeria, which has over 7 or 10 states that borders Niger, most protests started yesterday in Nigeria against military intervention, and that there will be consequence if that intervention. Algeria in itself is against the intervention and has warned that this intervention will have consequence in the Algerian people. And also, you have a situation where Vladimir Putin, who himself has castigated the military coup, has also warned that that would destabilize the sub-region. Don't forget that Mali and also Burkina Faso have supported this military coup and has also warned that an attack in Niger is an attack on them. And so if ECOWAS is to move with this action, what would be the consequence of this? Cameroon will also be affected if there's a humanitarian crisis, because on the northern part of the nation, you will see that we also belong to ECAS, where the sub-region. I come with you, Nick Anon. When you heard about this military action taken by ECOWAS, what came to your mind? Were you afraid? Or are you still afraid or not?
Yeah, I was not actually afraid or surprised. I actually know that the ECOWAS stating the issue of a standby army. I know in the nutshell that they are not going to intervene militarily in Niger because of the stakes in place. It will be very difficult for them to intervene militarily because
when they're talking of ECOWAS members in support of a military intervention in Niger, you see that it is not even half of the ECOWAS members that are in support of that. You see that it's just a handful of few countries in charge or doing that, especially Ghana, especially Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and Senegal, and the Gambia. These are the 4 countries that are championing that. If you look at the rest of ECOWAS, remember ECOWAS is a 15-member state union, taking into consideration that Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso they are no longer part of it. They've suspended their membership. You will see that the other Anglo-Saxon members that are in the union are not in support of this military coup, like Ghana, Sierra Leone, Liberia. They are not in support of this military action in Niger. So you begin to ask yourself that why is Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and Senegal so much interested in a military intervention in Niger? You begin to ask yourself further questions that who is behind drumming the war drums for them to be in front championing that there will be a military takeover, because they know that it is a dangerous move if they dare venture into intervening in Niger militarily. First of all, ECOWAS doesn't even have a standing army. ECOWAS, when they talk of a standing army of ECOWAS, when there's an issue, when there's an issue when there's an event, like we've seen other interventions by ECOWAS in the past, like in Cote d'Ivoire, like in Liberia.
Yeah, you know, they are relying on their experience in Liberia, where they chased out Charles Taylor. They are also relying on their experience in the Gambia, when Yahya Jammeh refused. Yahya Jammeh actually accepted defeat, but 24 hours later he refused defeat. And so therefore they are relying on the fact that they threatened him with military action, and so he quickly escaped. And so with that experience, they think that this will work in Niger. But is it the same scenario? No, the scenarios are quite different.
The scenarios are quite different. We're talking of a situation of a military takeover, and if we study critically what has happened within the ECOWAS zone in terms of military takeovers, it started in Guinea. ECOWAS did not intervene militarily. It went to Mali. It went to Burkina Faso. They did not intervene. Why did they not talk of? Yes. Why did they not talk of a standing army of wanting to intervene militarily? If you look at it critically, you see that there are people behind this move. For example, the European Union, NATO. Critically, you will look at it, they are the one behind pushing for this.
They will support the ECOWAS decision.
But the issue of a military intervention should be something that should be unanimous among all the member states of ECOWAS, not just a handful of countries who are acting maybe through influence from especially the French, because the interest at stake in Niger is the interest of the French that is at stake, and the influence of the Americans that is at stake in Niger. If you look at it critically, you also see that there's a French military base in Niger.
Yeah, French has about 2,000 troops in Niger. Yeah, America in itself has about 2,000, close to 3,000 troops.
Yeah, they have 2 military bases there. So why is it that they themselves cannot start this? They did.
The reason why they went to Cote d'Ivoire, why the French military was actually involved to back the rebels in Cote d'Ivoire, was because there was actually violence between Desmond, Ouattara, and also Laurent Gbagbo, and so they feared that, based on the report, that Gbagbo will use the full military might to crush on opposition supporters who were already on the street. So the French went to the UN Security Council and lobbied for a UN resolution to protect civilians, and to under the guise of protecting civilians. So the UN resolution, they were supposed to enforce it. Enforcing means that they had to stop the military of Gbagbo from using heavy artillery on the people, and so gave the rebels an edge, and that's why Gbagbo was removed. But in this situation, nobody has been killed in Niger. No protest against the military junta. So can a UN resolution work?
It cannot work in this situation. If not, they will have activated it since. That's why they're using now ECOWAS to try to come in militarily, because they know that going diplomatically will be somehow difficult. And I don't see reasons why most of these countries, for example, Nigeria, who are the ones championing this military takeover, we may know that there are some secret agreement between Tinubu before he came to power. You will notice that before Tinubu was sworn in as president, he spent about 2 weeks in France.
Yeah, he made series of trips in France.
Yeah, in the protest that is on medical leave and so on. So we may want to think that there are some secret discussion they had with the French, and they are pushing him. And remember that his mandate as the president of Nigeria is not still validated, because the issue is still in court.
But how we don't know. ECOWAS, is it not to show that ECOWAS in itself is not democratic and not respecting constitutional order? Because if you look at the constitution of Nigeria, it's clear that a president, if an election takes place and people are disgruntled, there's a process to challenge the election. But this, according to their constitution, does not stop the inauguration of the president. The president is inaugurated, the matter is sent to court. And now the court takes a process. There's a timeline where all this matter must be settled to show that, okay, this man now was validly elected. But now the electoral petition is ongoing. ECOWAS did not wait for the outcome. Immediately voted Tinubu as a chairperson of ECOWAS.
Yeah.
Is that not a breach of democracy?
It is actually a breach of democracy and a contradiction in itself within the ECOWAS. If you see ECOWAS, the so-called people wanting to institute constitutional order, if you look at them individually, they are actually contradictory among themselves. They don't have the moral authority to talk about constitutional order. Somebody like Alassane Ouattara doesn't have the moral authority to talk about constitutional order, because his 2-term mandate ended. He changed the constitution to go in for the 3rd term,
which brought in protest.
Yeah, he brought in protest, and even if we want to even talk about his coming to power, it was even contradictory. Coming to power, he did not win election. He was just forced into place by the French. We know that the French army went right to the presidency to remove Gbagbo and installed him as a president, and he was solemnly imposed on the Ivorian people as the elected president in court, and up to today he is still there. So these are not the kind of people we saw in Senegal. Macky Sall trying to force his own way into the 3rd term, and if not of the high-spirited mind of the Senegalese people, he would have succeeded. And these are not the kind of people who should be talking about constitutional order.
The people championing.
Yeah, he's among the people championing the invasion of Niger militarily. We don't see it. If there's a military intervention in Niger, is going to, the after effect is going to be so much spread among the sub-region, which is, we take for example Nigeria. Nigeria has 7 states that border Niger. Nigeria internally, they have their own issues that are not even able to resolve. You have the issue of Boko Haram still in the north.
ECOWAS are not going to join task force.
You have the issue of banditry. We don't see all of this. We don't see the ECOWAS, which is supposed, as a regional bloc, one of their main objectives is supposed to be able to fight cross-border terrorism like this, like Boko Haram and the Al-Shabaab and the rest. But we don't see them doing all of this. Nigeria, for example, cannot risk going into a military invasion, because if you look at it critically, the people of Niger and the people of northern Nigeria, if you remove the borders, they are the same people culturally. Most of them, they have in the north, you have majority the Fulanis and the Hausas. If you go to cross-border to Niger, it's the same people. The difference is just the colonial borders that were put. They are the same people.
In fact, the former president Buhari gifted ministers of Niger with cars.
Yes,
and said he was to retire in Niger.
Yeah, I even saw a video of some Niger people within that region talking of how they supported Tinubu and even voted for him. I even heard that the people of Niger who have Nigerian nationality There are people who live in those regions that have dual nationality. They have Nigerian nationality.
Cross-border issue, so
yes.
sometimes
So the border is it will be difficult for them to go into war.
I'm coming back to you
in this kind of
Let me
scenario.
take on some messages. You can also participate by calling to give you an intake as far as this is concerned. This message from Karl Marx Tebet in Yaoundé says ECOWAS is putting its member state in harm's way. The consequences of any failed use force as a result of resistance from Niger or her allies will seriously destabilize the Sahel region, the Lake Chad Basin and beyond. The geopolitical, economic and social consequence of this decision by ECOWAS will certainly outweigh the intended good if care is not taken. This is too much risk. And this other one says, good day, Mr. Jarvis. Restoring constitutional order in Niger is the biggest scam in the history of Africa. African leaders should stop continuously adoring and protecting the West. Woes from the town of friendship, that is Limbe. This one, right, it says, good day, Jarvis. What is happening in Niger is an extension of the Sahelian revolution and a wind of change which will surely visit every block of Africa where the interest of the people is not put first, but that of the neo-colonialists, while the masses languish in abject poverty. Ngole Hane, writing from Limbe. This other one, right, it says, happy Sunday to you guys in the studio. I think that this ECOWAS intervention is dead upon arrival because Putin will support it, and it is clear that the warmonger group is in Mali, and also when you see that Mali says they will support the military junta in Niger, it tells you that Mali will go with its allies, the warmonger group in Russia, and can ECOWAS sustain? Let's take on this caller who is calling us. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. The caller just dropped. So we'll take on some messages, continue to take on the messages. Say happy Sunday to you guys in the studio. Nice program. I think that ECOWAS should have a rethink because we in Cameroon will not take care of humanitarian crisis. This one also is coming from an anonymous sender. Also, let me take on those who are sending us a text message. Please, when you send us your message, index us where you are writing us from so that we can properly acknowledge you. You can also call to make your voice heard as far as this is concerned. Nick, let me come back to you. We are looking at this ECOWAS possibility of intervention. Should ECOWAS not be more concerned about, say, okay, because let's ask the question, Africa is not producing weapons. No weapon factories in Africa. If there's going to be a military intervention, where will these ammunition be bought? Who produces them? And who is going to take care of humanitarian disaster? Most of these countries, don't they have projects that they could invest this money to develop?
Yeah, one thing we have to understand is that most of these European nations whose interests are in this sub-Sahel region, most of them, they are not moral to a certain further. You think that intervening militarily and killing people is of any concern to them. They don't care. If they could intervene and shatter Libya, and Libya is the way it is today, it shows you that they don't care. These people are not people of conscience that will say that we'll just talk to their heart and they will understand that war is not a good thing. They live on war, they live on violence, they live on impunity. So these are their modus operandi. So it is high time then for Africans to understand that this is the way these people are, and then they summon the courage and stand up to them. Obviously, when there's a conflict, it's an opportunity for warmongers to sell weapons, or countries that produce weapons to sell their weapons. That's why they're always creating conflict zones in the world so that weapons can be sold, and so on and so forth. But this time around, we have seen a situation where a bloodless coup took place, and they are trying to use the military to make sure that blood flows.
No person was killed.
No person was killed. Which is applaudable. We have seen other coups that are always bloodless, but this one was, that are always blood, filled with blood. This one was a kind of bloodless coup that up to now we have not had any record of people being killed, which is something to be applauded. And even though we're not applauding that military takeovers or constitutional coup or coup d'etats are good things, yeah, but in looking at the subject of coup d'etat, we cannot totally condemn them as something entirely, but coup d'etats have their negatives, they have their positives.
Yes,
yes. But the highest thing that we suffer every day is constitutional coup d'etats. I don't know why when military coup d'etats take place and people will begin to condemn them anyhow as if.
Hello. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Where are you calling us from? What's your name?
I'm calling from Boya. My name is Mukom Christopher.
Yes, Mr. Mukom Christopher. We are getting you. Right on.
Okay, sir. Yes, hello.
Yes, sir. We are getting you.
Thank you very much. I'm calling you from Boya. My name is Mukom Christopher.
Yes, sir. Give your contribution.
Okay, sir. My contribution lies in the fact that the problem with Niger is a bigger problem.
Yes, sir.
And it's a problem that the Western world wants to break down the Russian economy.
Yes, sir.
And there are two major things there.
Yes, sir.
The first major thing is the uranium that Niger has, because Niger supplies about 40% of uranium to Europe.
Yes, sir.
And there is also the problem of gas.
Yes, sir.
In the 1970s, there was supposed to be a pipeline that was supposed to go through Nigeria to Niger to Algeria and then to Europe.
Yeah.
But you know, these people, because it did not serve their interests and they were getting cheap gas from Russia,
yeah,
they did not follow up that project. But now that they have decided to break down the Russian economy,
yes, sir,
they have therefore decided to embark on that project now. That's why you see Nigeria, because you're asking so many questions, why is Nigeria so involved? Yes, Nigeria is so involved now because of that gas that is supposed to be channeled from Warri in Nigeria.
And not democracy.
And not democracy. It's not a question of democracy. There is no democracy there. There is no democracy there. If they were talking about democracy, they should be looking at the African leaders who are embezzling funds with ministers and directors and taking the money to Europe. Why are they talking about a coup d'etat that nobody died in that coup d'etat? Nobody died in.
And they want to use a military intervention to restore constitutional order, as we are seeing the constitutional order in Libya.
Exactly, and as one of the panelists there highlighted a few minutes ago, none of the African countries is producing weapons except South Africa. In the former days, because even now we don't know what the arms factories in South Africa will do.
Yes, sir.
So we don't have anything to contribute in the war. And it will see fall on our economies.
Yes,
because
sir.
the weapons that they are going to give us, they will take material from us. The African leaders should not be stupid.
Yes, sir.
This is an issue if they want to, you know, have a democracy or try to control coup d'etats. They should begin by controlling the economies. Those that are siphoning money from the economy.
Yes,
those
sir.
that are signing cheap contracts and selling our raw materials very cheap to Europe and America. That is what they should. That is where they should begin. And the second thing, they should begin to think about making weapons by themselves.
Yes,
no country on this earth, on this planet Earth, will survive without being able to defend itself. So one of the things is they should start making weapons.
Yes, sir.
Making weapons is a way of defending yourself. You cannot. We should stop, you know, thinking that we will have protection from Europe, we'll have protection from America. They will only do it at their own for their own interest.
Yes, sir.
That is my little contribution. I think our leaders should wake up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lukong, and extend our greetings to the people of the town of legendary hospitality.
Yeah, Mr. Mukom, not Lukong.
Mr. Mukom, thank you very much, Mr. Mukom.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Nice day. Nick, you got his contribution?
Yeah, I got his. Yes, as I was still to come to that point of the pipeline, of the gas pipeline. Yeah, that's one of the major interests that you see Nigeria clamoring. Obviously, the reason is because it's not like the Europeans destroy the Russian economy. Of course, they cannot be able to destroy
they are trying.
the Russian economy.
Yeah. He says they are trying to.
Yeah, but if you see that in 2022, that was last year, the Nord Stream pipeline, that's there's a pipeline that takes gas from the Baltic Sea to Germany. That's they call it the Nord Stream 1 and 2. Yes. That is owned by the Russian. It was destroyed last year. That was September last year. And the European Union, the European Union got gas from Russia, about 45% of gas supply from Russia. That was cheap gas. It was actually destroyed under the pretext that they don't want Russia to be having money to fund the war in Ukraine.
Hello? Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Akeba. Where are you calling us from? Hey, Mr. Vitalis. Banekeno. Yes, your contribution.
Yes, I think what the African leaders are doing is, I can say, stupidity of its first order. Because the Niger people, they are very happy and they are welcome the coup plotters, and they are very, you see what happened in Niger, they are so happy. And yesterday I learned that in northern Nigeria,
yes,
those in northern Nigeria, they came out massively.
Yeah, we had protests yesterday, waving
yes, to say no,
the
we
flag.
cannot go on that. Yes. I also learned that there was also a meeting it was supposed to be a meeting in
Ghana.
Yes. And one of the Muslim clerics said, no, they cannot use Ghana soil to attack their cousins. So that is send a clear message to those who are clamoring for war, that people are not in favor of this war.
Yes, sir.
They should not put their own interest first. They should put the interest of the people first before fighting. We have a lot of problems in Africa, especially us, Cameroon and Nigeria and the rest of African countries. Why not concentrate on the problem that we have? If people want to go and fight, they should better consider the problem that they have at hand.
My question to you, Kimbang, is that they are going to buy weapons because Africa don't have a weapon factory. So don't they have this money? Don't they have project that they could invest this money in this project?
Yeah, that is it. People are dying of hunger. We go to our universities, our schools are ill-equipped. You go to Nigeria, many people are jobless and everybody is crying on the street. There's no food, the oil prices is going up and so on. So it is very foolish for them to go and start engaging in a war that the benefit will be the Europeans. Because those who are pushing the Africans to fight with each other, if they are not, they are the France and America. So they should understand that no, we cannot fight ourselves. Because if the war is fought in Africa, it's not going to have any effect in France, because activities in France should still be going on, but those activities in African countries around the Sahel will come to a standstill, and they are going to be increase in refugees, and it's going to affect almost the whole of Africa. So at least they should think well.
With Cameroon inclusive.
Yes. Yes, Cameroon inclusive, because the people are already here. You have around Venezuela, the people from Niger, they are already moving here. Some of them, they move here, surviving by moving around, trying to see how they can mend shoes, cutting people's maybe fingernails before they eat. Then they have beggars along the street. When the war has already started, imagine now that if war has to start in Niger, what will become of this of other people?
Okay. Very well, Eni, very well.
Very well.
Okay. Very well, Fumuchat. That is Mr. Kimbang Vitalis, one of our panelists who is also giving his contribution. We were supposed to have Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel on the program today. We're also supposed to have Mr. Suleiman from Kumba and also Mr. Gentle from Boya. Unfortunately, they are not here. We have to continue the program. Elat Divine, writing from Limbe. He says, good day to you all in the House of Commons, and special salute to Mr. Tah Mai Jarvis. I am Ella Divine from Victoria. ECOWAS intervention in Niger military is a failed operation already, because the rest of the member states are, even a majority of those pushing for the intervention, are not for that. Mr. Jarvis, let me just say it's in a nutshell, this action, if the so-called ECOWAS is useless I call it useless because they are just being manipulated by the West, like France and the US in particular. And I will continue to say again that the so-called ECOWAS is just a mess because they have never taken any action that goes anywhere in helping the West African people, but rather giving access to the West to continue pressing our people in Africa over our resources. This is coming from Ella in Limbe. This other one, right, one of our fervent contributors, Ibazobo from Bamenda, says the French government is it's a dash government. Please, I will take your message, Ibazobo. Please, when hello, where writing us be a bit civil. Hello. When writing not be a bit civil, it says that the French government is Dutch XX government. It has been killing from African countries for decade upon decades, and they are not ready to let go easily. People like Ouattara and Tinubu are puppets of the West. It is French that is behind ECOWAS to attack Niger. Ebazogo writing. Please, where you call us, let us know where you are calling us from. Henry from Limbe, right? It says, good afternoon to you guys in the studio. Let ECOWAS shift and hide its face in the bush. It is toothless. Cameroon is a member, and many children and old mother are killed on daily basis, and they cannot do anything. Rather, the Nigerians, as giants of Africa, instead arrested a good number of citizens and handed over to the predators. What does Nigeria and ECOWAS stand backing Niger? Henry from Limbe. Henry, Cameroon is geographically located in West Africa and economically located in Semak, and so Cameroon is in Semak. However, we share the ECAS, the regional bloc ECAS. So I support you on the fact on ECAS, which is a regional bloc, and so Cameroon also will be affected in the ECAS subcommittee. If you look at what is happening in that, I'm talking about ECAS. We've been having a caller who has been trying to call us. Unfortunately, on WhatsApp, we just this other one, right? It says let me take on this one. My name is Olivia from Boya. Greetings and happy Sunday to you all. The problem of Niger will be solved supported by Nigeria. This other right, it says happy Sunday to you guys in the studio. Nice program. Thank you very much for your participation. This other right, it says the problem in Niger is that Nigerians will have to pick up their own arms. Thank you very much. All those of you watching us on social media, we want to appreciate you. Let's take out some messages from those of you watching us on Facebook so that we can actually acknowledge you. You can also call us on the numbers on your screen to give your contribution. I'll be coming back to you. Let me take on some few messages as far as they are coming in. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. Hello? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hello? 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 Good afternoon.
Hello?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jarvis.
Yes, sir. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm Blaze from Boya.
Yes, sir. The town of legendary hospitality.
Yes. I just want to give my small contribution to the issue in Niger.
Yes, sir.
I believe that in every country, the people of that country are the rightful sovereign.
Yes, sir.
Of that country.
Yes, sir.
And for a political occurrence to happen in the country and it survives, it shows that the people have accepted what has happened.
And we have not had a counter protest.
We have not had a counter protest. The military guys, the coup leaders, they are Nigerians. They are not outsiders.
Yes, sir.
They cannot tell us or they tell other people to respect the territorial integrity of Ukraine, and they do not want to respect the territorial integrity of Niger. Yes. So they have to respect the territorial integrity of Niger. Because by saying that, you are contradicting yourself to say that when it is not you who has done it, it is wrong. But when you do it, you justify it. That is why Russia is being oppressed in the mainstream, because those guys control the media. You just need to sit with the Russians and let them tell you their own side of the story. Since us here, we are characterized by BBC and CNN, we feel to buy the notion that Russia is wrong. It's a lie. We should be careful. ECOWAS should be careful, because the people of Niger have decided their fate.
Yes, sir.
They have decided their fate. It is a wrong approach that they have taken. That is why the military guys will not listen to them, because you cannot cheat me as you want to attack me, then you are still coming to negotiate with me. You have already come with a wrong approach.
Yes,
so
sir.
they need to be careful, and it should be a lesson for everyone. The people who are instigating a military intervention should be careful. It is a wrong approach.
Okay.
From the very beginning. So I believe that the people of Niger has a roadmap. Let them choose what they want. It is not for others to determine what. That's why people are asking, why is Cameroon not intervening? Cameroon cannot intervene in that kind of issue. It is not their problem. Yes, it is not our problem. We should fix our own problems. Yes, that one is their own. We are not interferers. Yes, we do not interfere in the other issues of other countries.
Okay.
That is my contribution.
Thank you, sir. Hello. Hello. Good afternoon. Where are you calling us from your platform? This one right says. Amos Andy watching us on Facebook. Amos Andy says, happy Sunday guys. With constitutional coup in Cameroon and other African countries, rigging election is equally a coup. Embezzlement is a social coup. The people of Niger are not complaining. What is ECOWAS so concerned? You don't cry more than the bereaved. One question for you, Jarvis: won't you support a coup in a country where the president has perpetuated a constitutional coup to stay in power for more than 40 years? That is Andy asking the question. Hello, good afternoon. Where are you calling us from?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Jonas.
Good morning, sir. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm Wiba Suleiman. I'm calling from Yaoundé.
Okay, sir. Nation's political capital. I'll be in Yaoundé on Monday.
Yes, I'm happy with your program. You have a nice program. So my own contribution is not only for the Niger, it's for the Africa as a whole.
Yes, sir.
Yes. What I can say, I've seen like this point, the problem in Africa is Africa.
Yes, sir.
So because our leaders are very selfish. So it's like these white people are just manipulating our leaders like toy, and our leaders need to stand up for we Africans.
Yes, sir.
So I hate what I'm saying. What is like what Mohamed Gaddafi started for Africa is what will help Africans.
Okay.
Because if we look at Libya today and think about Libya yesterday, we know that white man has no good plan for us. Yes.
Very well.
What happened in Libya is example for us that these white people, they don't have any good plan for us. We need to face them.
Okay, sir.
Yes, and again, this French country, you cannot have peace in your country when you have any contact with these French people. So when you have any contact with French people, you know that you cannot have any peace in your country.
Okay, sir.
Yes, that's my own opinion.
Very well. We could zoom.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much, Mark. That was a caller from Yaoundé. This one, right? Dieudonné Santino. Greetings to you, Jarvis, and all in the studio. I am Santino, watching from Dubai, Abu Dhabi. The war that ECOWAS is bringing to Niger is being influenced by France and America because of all the natural resources that they receive from Niger. My advice for the ECOWAS is to back out because it is for the interest of the West. Abong Winnet writing, a member state of ECOWAS have their own internal issues, so they should go and sit their dash down. Does Africa really need democracy? Gadi asks, do African countries really need democracy as a form of government? In the continent, do the African countries really understand what democracy is and how it works? If Africa needs democracy as a form of government, what types of democracy does it need? It is democracy that impoverish the masses and make criminals kings, or is it democracy that encourages, or is it the democracy that encourages stealing of public funds, corruption and impunity, or is it the democracy that creates religious and ethnic rivalry and violence, or is it democracy that brings about wanton destruction of properties and lives? There are types of democracy we are currently having in Africa. These are ECOWAS democracy is pushing for, and it is fighting hard to protect African. That is coming from Gadi, who is watching us on social media on Facebook. Also this one, Aqua Koita, our Quota watching us on Facebook, right? The leaders of ECOWAS that are calling for war on Niger are all leaders that are guilty of coup, because of all them reached their way to power. And all those of you watching us on social media platform, we want to acknowledge your contribution, and also to say that you can also participate in the course of the program. This one, right, it says good morning, House of Commons. This is hypocrisy from all so-called ECOWAS leaders. Must be serious and not to put the whole continent to mayhem. The people of Niger are happy with the junta. For that matter, the majority of the continent are solely behind them. An attack on Niger is an attack on the whole Africans. The main function of ECOWAS is serve the interests of the people and not the interests of the West. Yusuf, writing from Ghana. Yusuf writing from Ghana. This one says, the good afternoon, House of Commons. I am Leke writing from Yaoundé. The problem is that the independent, it is now that Niger has taken its independence, and here colonial masters in France is not happy losing territory. The video I just sent to you made me to understand that a lot. Okay, I've seen the video you sent to me. Please, when you text us, be brief to your point. This one, right? Good day, Jarvis, and the topic is so important. Thank you very much. You have been trying to call us. This other one, right? It says, happy Sunday. Good morning, Jarvis. Pan-Africanism is alive and ready to do its worst. ECOWAS should think twice before acting, because I know France and the US is the force behind the ECOWAS. Nick, and let me come back to you. There have been a lot of misinformation on the social platform as far as this coup is concerned in Niger. Let us look at this. The leaders of Niger, of the coup, were not trained by Russians. They did not attend Russian schools. They did not attend Russian training. In fact, the resources they had, or they are having, is not from Russia. But how then the West is pushing the rhetoric that Russia is behind the military coup? Is it that the people cannot take a decision on their own?
Yeah, they are actually surprised, because most of these military leaders were trained in France and the US. So they're actually surprised that they are training military leaders that are taking or that are fighting against them. I saw a former CIA director in the US confessing that they have trained more than 5,000 military leaders in Africa. Some of them, they even talk of Guinea, that some of them now they have learned their secret and they are turning against them. So most of them are surprised, because this movement in West Africa is actually a wind of change. A wind of change against neocolonialism, a wind of change against impunity, against colonial pact. If you want to take, for example, what happened in Burkina Faso within this week, when the present military leader, Captain Touare, cancelled the accord. The accord they had with the French. The French multinationals
came because the French voiced their anger against him supporting the coup.
Yes, in Niger.
And so took out the aid that was been given, and he said, for the past how many years they have been living, what has the aid done to them?
Yeah. So you can't imagine that French multinational companies in most of these African countries don't pay tax to the countries where they operate. It is something disheartening when I hear of that. They pay taxes to France. If you want to look at the numerous multinational companies that are operating in these countries, meanwhile, the taxes they pay in France, they take a small portion and give you and call it foreign aid. Meanwhile, if they were paying these taxes to these countries, it will be huge sums of money that will be able to carry out developmental projects. And it is actually a contradiction in itself. If you look at it critically, you see like these guys are not out to laugh. If you look at when they even went to the extent of suspending Air France flying to Burkina Faso, and when they wanted to resume, they banned them indefinitely. They banned Air France indefinitely. I mean, the captain banned them indefinitely from flying to Burkina Faso. And you see that these guys are not out to laugh. They are out for a mission that is highly welcome, a mission that is against Western imperialism. The Western hegemony has been there for too long, and if they are trying to activate a second world war front in Niger after Ukraine, because the war in Ukraine, everybody knows, a proxy war. And
Africans did not support the They were trying to get Africans to condemn the war.
To condemn the war.
To
isolate Russia. They are saying that they are actually siding with Russia, and they are actually surprised.
There is a plot now to get Africans divided.
Yes.
Against Russia.
Yeah, against Russia. That's their main interest. Because the interest of Russia is saying that you guys are getting cheap resources. You are extracting free resources from Africa to be your economy, to be your armies, and then come fight me. So it is better for me to go to where you are getting these resources and then try to conscientize these people to take charge of their resources, so that you don't get cheap resources and come fight me. And then the issue of Russia wanting the world to become multipolar. A multipolar world is better for everybody. It is free and fair for everybody, rather than the West has always wanting to dominate the world affairs, making the world to be like a unipolar way, that their civilization, the so-called concept of democracy, is a Western concept. It is a Western concept, and so they have been.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You've been trying to call us.
Yes, I am Tah Mai Jarvis.
Yes, sir. Right on.
I want to contribute, sir.
Yes, sir. Right on, Mr. Mike.
Sir, you see, this ECOWAS stuff is just a tool in the hands of the West. Because look at, when they wanted to get rid of one president who won his election and so on, I think it was in Guinea,
yes,
they came through ECOWAS. Now, the ECOWAS, the chairperson knows that if he uses ECOWAS to go into war in Niger, it's going to give him some credibility in front of the West. So this war, actually, Nigeria is not supposed to, because Niger or the Nigerians have not complained.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when you look at it closely, you discover that Kwame Nkrumah said Ghanaian independence will be meaningless
unless it is
the rest of Africa
with the total emancipation for a different African state.
Yes, there you are. This is a rebirth. This is a rebirth of Africans. So they cannot stop it. It has started, and it will go all over Africa. Look, we have been kind of sit-tight presidents, but this is a rebirth that will liberate Africa economically and politically. Just watch out. Since Russia is on the ground, and the West, they say they want to out Russia. My brother, let us expect.
Okay. Yeah.
The child must come out.
Okay. So it is a let us all spoil it, and hello. It is a let us all spoil it, and so you don't gain, I don't gain.
Okay, yeah, I was talking about the concept of
unipolar and bipolar.
Yeah, the unipolar, a multipolar way. Yeah, if you read the book, this is a book written by one of the best American political scientists called Samuel Huntington. It's called A Clash of Civilization. When you read that book, you will see how he explains war in the 21st century. That wars will be fought on cultural basis. And we look at it critically, how the current wars in the world are being fought. They are fought on cultural basis, and he talks about the rising of the rest. because the world has always been divided into the bipolar, where you have the West
and the East.
And the East. That's Eastern Europe, the West America, that's North America, and Western Europe. And they talk of the rest. The rest means now the rest of the world, the rest of the state, meaning that these two people defines world politics. So in this book, this man's talk about the rising of the rest of the state. If you look at the rising of the rest, China, South Korea, I mean all Asian states and the African states, yeah, the rise of African states, we are actually witnessing that now. All of this is into place, what we call a multipolar way, meaning that every state will have a right, something to say when it comes to world politics, rather than just a few people who organize themselves after the Second World War and begin to champion how the world is going to move. The idea of a multipolar way is highly welcome, because in a multipolar way, everybody counts, not just some few people. And we are happy that Russia is championing this idea. And the issue of Russia supporting most of these guys through their Wagner group, it is something that's highly welcome, and that is what is making the West to tremble. If you look at what is at stake,
let me just cue you in. I followed U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. Blinken said they don't want the Wagner group to get into Niger, because where the Wagner group gets into, there's destruction, death, and evil.
Yeah, of course, that we are fond of hearing this from.
But is that not hypocrisy?
It is.
When you look at where America goes,
it is destruction. Afghanistan is an example. Iraq is an example where they go.
do you think the Africans are so stupid? It is. I cannot understand.
They think that as the world is changing, we are not changing with the world. We are not reading the tides of the time, and they think that from through their media they can manipulate us all the time, as they have been doing.
Because he was confident.
I follow him also. I follow what he said. Where is destruction, killing,
and mayhem. Let's look at Libya. Americans did an airstrike in Libya. France did an airstrike.
And today Libya is a shadow of himself.
No, Libya is constitutional order.
Really good constitutional order. So the issue of the energy situation in Niger is what is of interest to these guys. Uranium is what is of interest to this guy. You see that upon all the sanctions America placed on Russia, all the sanctions, they did not place sanctions on uranium. You know that about 60% of uranium from supply to the US from Russia, they place all the sanctions except sanctions on uranium. I mean that Russia still supplied them uranium. They know the importance of that. And the uranium that the French have been extracting from Russia right from the 70s up to today, most of their energy need is based on that. You know that uranium is a non-renewable source of energy. You need it all the time to power your stations. So the French economy is at stake. You know, the energy is one of the backbone to any economic growth in any country. And you will see that the Russians have already agreed to build nuclear power stations in this country. They have agreed in Burkina Faso. I think they've started already. They have also agreed that they will do that the same for Niger, for the purpose of supplying electricity, because it is a contradiction that these countries have most of these natural resources.
Hello.
And
I want to contribute.
Yes, sir. What's your name? Where are you calling us from?
I'm Mr. Kokila. I'm calling from Nimbe.
Yes, sir. The town of Friendship.
Yeah.
Right on.
Okay. I don't see why we are blaming the West. We're supposed to blame ourselves. Look at what our president is doing. Look at Cameroon. After the monologue that they did in Yaoundé, Mr. Biya took it and ran to France and give it to Macron. Why are we blaming them? They have seen. They know that we are fools. If we don't want to have sense, then it is our problem.
Let's look at. But how do you explain the fact that these same Africans who have risen up in Niger and supported by Mali, Burkina Faso, and the African leader who is in Nigeria, chairperson of ECOWAS, Senegal?
That is what I am saying. How can Niger be fighting for their right, and then a black man, Nigerian African, is going against? So for me, I don't blame them. If we can open our eyes and see what we can do, that is the best. It's time for us to open our eyes and see that these people, we don't need them here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Extend our greetings to your family.
All right.
So,
Okay. Yeah, as I was saying, that the fight that is taking place in the Sahel, it's not just a fight of the natural resources out there. It is a fight against the French imperialism that has been operating there for so long. The colonial pacts that were signed, the French are seeing these things being a rupture in their eyes in this 21st century, because they have been benefiting from these things for too long. And they are trying to think the future of the French Empire, because they put all of this to promote the French Empire, and they're trying to see the French Empire going down. Of course, every empire, if you study the history of empires in the world, they are just like a roller coaster. They rise and they fall. They cannot be there forever. The Roman Empire dominated the world for so long. They fell one day. The British Empire, they fell one day, and so on. The American and the French Empire, they are falling. They are witnessing their fall now. And there's nothing that can stop it. There's no military might that can stop that. So it is just for them to think cooperation. Cooperation like other nations are doing, like the Chinese are doing. The Chinese are not coming to grab everything that you have. This is what they call win-win cooperation. That's what the 21st century should be talking about. And this is what the French doesn't want to understand. They have been there, they've been trained to think that they are masters.
Now, let
and
me
then,
ask you this question.
Yes.
We, last week, one of the leaders of the indigenous people of Biafra, Simon Ekpa,
yes,
did a Facebook outing, and that Niger should not bother. If there's an ECOWAS intervention, Nigeria, they will be attacking Nigeria from the east. Is Tinubu not aware of this security threat? Because the Biafran civil war that started in 1967 ended in the 70s with almost millions of lives lost, properties destroyed. There is a resurgence of that Biafran civil war, where we are also witnessing arms have been introduced now. Yeah, it's similar like to what is happening in the northwest and southwest region.
Obviously, they have a group.
If Cameroon, imagine that Cameroon was to go to war in the time that the Anglophone crisis started, will Cameroon be strong enough?
Never. They
So
will never be strong enough. Yeah, I think I've been following Nigerian media all these days. There is high level opposition to what Tinubu is trying to do, and if Tinubu tries to go into war, he may risk being removed from power.
Impeached.
Yes, he may risk being impeached, because first of all, the Senate has not approved of that, the Parliament has not approved of that, and the laws are clear. Before you engage into war, the Senate and the Parliament has to approve of it, and they have not voted for this. And Tinubu has unilaterally gone ahead to support the idea of ECOWAS standing army, which is contradictory.
Yeah, if I get you, Tinubu is doing.
They are saying that there's no national interest. There's no national interest at stake, because a president can take a unilateral decision to go into war, maybe even without a parliament, when there is national interest at stake.
7 days.
Yes,
the president can go to Wallo.
Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon, Jarvis.
Good afternoon, sir. Where are you calling us from?
This is Musa calling from Boya.
Yes, Musa, the town of legendary hospitality.
Yes, thank you, and good afternoon to the gentleman in the studio.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I've been following your debate, and I want to say that once again it is Africa that is in the map, and for the wrong reasons. And you know, this continent is never, going to learn with this Western imperialist.
Yeah.
You see, let me say that President Bazoum came to power in 2021, and he never had the support of the people from Niger. We all know that. We know that the kind of democracy that they proclaim in Niger, it is that kind of democracy where the West come behind and they put in African puppets and they control them to their own selfish interests. So and that can be authenticated with the crowds that are out in the street of Niamey cheering the military junta. It is no secret that he's not the choice of the people. So we should put that into perspective. And
I equally want to say that the riches of Niger, like what they have, like the uranium, that France has been exploiting for quite a long time, it's not helping the population, and they have seen that because uranium, France exploit it for its power. And look at the country like Niger that borrows electricity from Nigeria, which also has an epileptic electricity condition. So it tells you that they know that France is there for its own interest. And if you want to look at the wider geopolitical implication of the region, it is very volatile, because other countries are concerned with the activities of terrorist group. Now, if ECOWAS goes ahead to destabilize Niger, it's going to be a safe haven for terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Maghreb. You have ISIS. That infiltrate from Libya, where you have supply of arms coming into the Sahel region. You have Boko Haram as well. So, I mean, it's a shame that ECOWAS with the chairman of Ahmed Bola Tinubu, who is not having it easy even in Nigeria, somebody who took over power just some few months ago, is also having internal economic crisis in Nigeria. And people are not and people are not happy, and this might be opportunity for some people within Nigeria to destabilize the country if he goes ahead with the invasion of Niger, because he is the lead here. And you look at another country like Senegal that had its own internal political issues with the Ousmane Sonko already in jail, his political party dissolved. You have another country that is supporting this mess, Cote d'Ivoire. We all know how Alaman Ouattara came into power after France masterminded, the overthrow of the former president Laurent Gbagbo. It's no secret that foreign powers are always behind the destabilization of Africa, and ECOWAS should be very careful, because once they push Niger to the wall and this military takeover succeed, you are going to see an alliance of these countries with a history of military coup, Niger, Burkina, Mali, and all the other countries, and it is going to boost, the interests of other countries that are thinking in this same light, that they can form this kind of alliance and do the same as what is happening in Niger. So I want to say that there are other continental blocks like African Union. You ask yourself, why are they so silent? Why is AU not intervening in Niger? Because they know that they have failed, and they know that the interest of Western powers is behind, and they cannot go against the interest of Western power. Look at a country like Sudan. Sudan today is in tatters. A country where you have two military leaders fighting against each other, killing people. You have so many refugees running into neighboring countries, and nobody is saying a word. You have AU quiet, United Nations very quiet. You have European Union and other countries, because their interest is not there. They should have, invaded Sudan to call the two military leaders to order, but they are not doing that. Their own interest is in Niger. And let me tell you that Niger has support, and Russia is behind Niger. We all know that. There's Fatuna that we know that the forces are within the ranks of the Malian troops, and very soon, if care is not taken, if Mali joins to support Niger, you will see Wagner forces.
Yeah, we have seen Mali, Burkina Faso, their military spokesperson have once countlessly, and they visited Niger and had a talk. So, which means they will be going with their allies, which is Russia.
So you see, the implications are going to be, very, very grave. So they should be very carefully. I think that ECOWAS concern now should be a diplomatic.
Give us the last word. Good afternoon to you all. The studio. French colonial countries in Africa are run by puppet government characterized by institutional and military coups. Let ECOWAS start from Ivory Coast, Senegal, Canada, etc., Chad, etc., and then Nigeria, Tinubu saga. Russia, it is their solution, and we shall back them. Wait and see. Kevin Kenneth in Douala. This one right is Mr. Please, sir, I like your program, but please, I want you to play the video I sent to you. There's no time. We're out of time. Even those of you who are still calling, we can't pick up calls now. Henry from Kumba says, why happy but Russian coming in Africa? That's the nice thing, but we should be careful with that, cause same as the West, Russian is no different, cause they are for power to stand against the West and not for African Russians, we will be the worst in the years to come, more than the so-called West right now. So we should be careful. That is what we wish for. Yeah, message is gotten. Happy Sunday to you, Mr. Jarvis. This is John Anyere writing from Douala. He says, in fact, ECOWAS is just a controversial, hypocritical, and toothless bulldog association. Nigerians know the devastating consequence of attacking Niger. Tinubu is unconstitutional president, and Ouattara killed thousands of Ivorians to take power today. Macky Sall of Senegal is terrible hypocrite who went to Ukraine to denounce the war, and today he is supporting a war against his own African sisters' country. It is a big shame. ECOWAS has no moral lessons to offer to Africans. I am John Anyeri writing from Douala. We are out of time. Nick and Anu, before we go, your last word.
Yeah, I just want to say that the issue of military intervention in Niger is something that doesn't even make sense in the face of logic. You want to intervene militarily to install a president, they see have the president in keeping. If you intervene militarily, the only logical thing they can do is just to kill the president that you are coming to install, so that there will be nobody to install. So it's just as simple as that in the face of logic. So if intervening militarily is something that doesn't make sense. And also concerning, somebody talk about the African Union, we cannot expect the African Union to intervene or to say a word, because in this started we have not heard them talk anything. We look at it critically, you see that African Union is in a nutshell under the control of the French. Look at those who are manning the African Union today. They are in direct control with the French. The African Union Commission, the same thing. They are under the direct control of the French. Means that the African Union is in the pocket of the French. So that's why you see most of these things happening and you don't hear them talking or saying a word. And somebody talked to me about the Russian Wagner group. People should not be so surprised to see that the Russian Wagner group doesn't have only Russians. They have black Wagners inside also. They have trained a lot of black people that you may be surprised to see that when they say the Russian Wagner group is in, don't expect to see a white man there. Okay, there are black people that are inside also. So we hope ECOWAS will still follow in the face of logic, the face of diplomacy, to resolve what is happening in Niger. Of course, we don't see any reason why they should intervene there militarily.
We're out of time.
Yeah, and we hope that diplomacy will take its full course.
Thank you very much. We want to say happy bon dimanche à vous, le membre de Négo Spiritual, Cora Négo Spiritual. J'ai dit bon dimanche à Franck Paula, bon dimanche à Akini Lidovic, bon dimanche à Antoinella Lorella, bon dimanche à Karel, bon dimanche Yolande, bon dimanche aussi à tu, bon dimanche à tous les membres de Négo Spiritual. Je voulais dire Fabiola aussi, bon dimanche à vous, et bon dimanche à Ghislaine et tous les membres du Négo Spiritual qui préparent la retraite. Bon dimanche à vous et tous ceux que je n'ai pas appelé le nom, bon dimanche à vous. And before we take leave of you, we want to say happy Sunday to you, Mr. Robert Nyam from the United States of America, who always contributes in the course of the program, and also to you and the family, Mr. Robert Nyam and the family. We want to say, Joan, happy Sunday to you. Micah Keller, happy Sunday to you. Max from Germany, who also participate. I will leave you. This program comes up every Sunday at exactly 12 to 1:30. If you want to be a member or participate in any of our debate live in the studio, you can call me on the number on your screen, or you can participate out of the country via Skype. We can also take you via Skype on the number on your screen, +23767643138. I leave you with this: no matter the matter, what matters is your matter, and what should matter for you is that you should know that the truth is God. You can only kill the teller and not the truth. My name is Tah Mai Jarvis on Cameroon's commercial capital, Douala. Fengu John Bange. Bye bye.